Welcome to the Practical Growth Podcast. I'm your host, E.B. Johnson, top writer on Medium.com, published author, and master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. You've landed on the podcast that takes you on a journey into the heart of relationships and self-discovery. This is a must listen for those who are ready to overcome their toxic relationships and their toxic patterns. You can expect real talk, practical guidance, and raw and relatable guests that you'll be talking about for weeks. Let's get into it.
Hello again, my lovelies. It is me, EB, your favorite podcast host, your favorite Medium.com writer, and your favorite Narc Talk TikTok creator, and I am back with another great episode for you. This week, we are going to be touching on something that is right in my wheelhouse, right? We're going to be talking about an issue that all of you are facing, whether you're dealing with narcissists or toxic families or whatever, and you probably didn't even realize it. And that is this: programming. We're just going to be talking about human programming. Did you know that for the most part, the majority of you listening to this right here, right now, you have been programmed to fail? Not only to fail, but you've been programmed to be hesitant, distrustful, and doubtful of anything good that you build for yourself. As a matter of fact, most of you have been programmed to be ashamed of yourselves and your happiness, and you didn't even realize it. And I'm going to help break that down for you today. And we are going to learn what it takes to reprogram our minds so that we can build happier, more self-fulfilled lives for ourselves. Quick coaching update before we jump into things. August is, the better part of over. So you only have a few more months until that's it. The year is done and we are in 2023. So you need to gut check. This is your opportunity to gut check. Are you going to go into 2023 feeling what you feel now? That anxiety, that fear of like, what am I doing next? What, I don't even know who I am. I don't know what I want. How am I supposed to protect myself from all this chaos that's going on, these recessions, this political drama, this family drama, this relationship drama? If you want to put yourself in a strength mindset for 2023, if you're ready to give yourself systems for dealing with the anxiety, the depression, the hardship, the pain, the panic, if you're ready to figure out who you are, what you want, and what you're going to do with your life, then this is your last chance to apply to work with me. I'm offering an 8-week private coaching program. It is an NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming coaching program. You will work one-on-one with me, and we will totally reset your brain, your beliefs, the way you talk to yourself, and you will start taking action in the name of your life. This is a great program for anyone who's recovering from narcissistic abuse, but it's especially powerful for anyone who is feeling lost, directionless, as though you don't have a voice. The purpose of NLP is to empower yourself. You give yourself frameworks and systems that reprogram your beliefs and your behaviors, which changes your entire physical material reality around you. So if you want to work with me, you have to apply now. There is only a couple of spots left, and the wait list is also open for 2023. So you need to head over to therealebjohnson.com/workingwithme if you want to apply. I only work with a few people at a time to make sure everyone gets my attention, to make sure we are actually making headway. So if you're ready to do it, if you're ready to do it for yourself, for your children, for your work, whatever it is, apply now to work with me. All right, programming. Let's get into it. What is programming? How have we been programmed to fail or to be ashamed of good things or of ourselves? How has this happened? How have we come here? Well, let's get into it. Let's just dive head in. First and foremost, programming is, especially when it comes to NLP, right, which is the coaching style that I use to help people. Programming is essentially your beliefs. Okay. Your programs are your beliefs, and these are your beliefs about everything. They're beliefs about yourself, your family, your friends, the world around you, your politics, shoe polish, whatever it is. You have beliefs about everything. Okay. As humans, we have beliefs about everything. And these beliefs or programs are what we kind of load when we have a new experience. So you're walking down the street and a dog runs across your path. Well, in your head, your brain starts running through programs, and it tries to assess the situation through similar experiences that it's had before. So it might pull up memories of when you were a kid and your parents helped you rescue dogs. So you know how to stop, get the dog, feed the dog, get the dog into the car, whatever it is. We have programs, and our programs are built on a lot of different things, right? These beliefs come from a lot of different places. Yes, they come from our experiences, right? Our memories, the things that we've gone through. But they also are built on our values, okay, which is the things that are fundamentally core important to us across the board in every facet of life. And they are built on our beliefs, okay? And the beliefs are also built on these values and experiences. It's this kind of circular system. They all feed into each other, and they're all required in order to create these programs. So you pick up programs as a human all the time. All the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. Your brain is a computer, and it is constantly running programs, downloading new programs, updating old programs, okay? Think of it like a computer. It starts when you're born. You come into this world a completely blank hard drive. And your parents are the first ones to start installing programming in you, okay? These are programs about self-esteem, about is the world safe? Is the world dangerous? And then as you age and you go out into the world, you get more programs, not just programs from your parents and your family, but programs from the experiences you have in the world. So if you run out into the street and you're hit by a car and you survive, you will be given a new program in which you are afraid of streets and cars, and you won't want to run out into a street anymore. Okay. As you age again, you get into a relationship. Let's say you're in high school and your first boyfriend or girlfriend physically hits you. Okay, this might give you a program. Maybe that program is, I deserved it. I shouldn't have acted that way. They hit me because they loved me. Or maybe that program is, no one will ever do this to me again. If I ever experience this again, I will not allow it. Okay, programs come from our experiences, and they come from our beliefs. So, for example, I got hit with a lot of programming as a child that really kind of affected the way I felt about myself, the way I felt about my desires, my dreams, the things that excited me. And this programming didn't just come from my family. You've been listening, you've been reading my things, you've been following me on TikTok, then you know some of the dramatic stuff about family that I've shared. But I also got programming from society around me, from my experiences with my peers. It came from everywhere. So the best example I can give you is, so I grew up in the South. This is an example of how all these programs come together, right? I grew up in like a rural southern town. Not a lot of people. There was like 300 people in my graduating class, and we had basically all been together since first grade, kindergarten, first grade. So I kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. First of all, I was adopted, which was super, super rare in the South in the 90s that anyone would openly talk about that, or kind of have open knowledge of that. As I grew up, I developed an interest in European sports. I developed an interest in France and the UK. I loved their histories. I loved their languages. I also loved Russian languages. Through my love of history and through my love of learning about different cultures, I would also learn to like different things. So maybe I would like different types of clothes, or different types of teas, or food, or desserts, or music. Whatever that was, I tended, not intentionally, just genuinely through my curiosity, natural curiosity and interest, I would gravitate towards these things. Well, okay, growing up in a town where everyone was listening to like Brooks and Dunn and Toby Keith and like looking at you weird if you wore a black t-shirt, I started getting called a snob. When I expressed to my family that certain family members that I wanted to live abroad, go abroad, do school abroad, or I asked to go to boarding school at one point, which was laughable. I got called a snob. I got called a snob. And this was a theme that just kind of ran through my life. Because I liked different things, I was called pretentious. It was kind of like this weird alienation. By the time I was 12 years old, I had heard the phrase, "Who do you think you are?" like 40 million times, okay? Like 40 million times. It was absolutely nuts. And it didn't just come from my family, right? This came from other people around me, because in the culture that I lived in, what was expected of me was I was expected to like certain things, dress a certain way, behave a certain way, and then create a certain future for myself. And when I didn't want any of those things, I was labeled pretentious, I was labeled arrogant, I was labeled out of my place. Being hounded all the time by "you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, this is weird, why are you doing this?" became a program to me. I became ashamed of these things, and I tried to conform myself. I tried to dress the way they wanted me to dress, and to go to church, and to do the things they wanted me to do. It took a long time for me to break all of this programming that had been built up, not only by my family, who had taught me like, "Ooh, you're weird. Why do you like these things that we don't do, that we don't like? That's weird. You're a snob. You're a brat." And I was also getting it from society, which American society where I lived in that time was, "Ew, this is weird. This is gross. You shouldn't do this. Conform." So it took me a long, long time to realize that all of these kinds of experiences and relationships and the feedback I was getting from my environment had become a program. It had become a program for me, and it had reinforced a lot of doubts and a lot of negative beliefs about myself. And what that did was that then humbled me in the wrong ways. It made me more compliant, but also more afraid. It made me more reticent, and it made me not want to step out of my comfort zones in the right way. I thought I had to toe the line and play it safe. And that changed my behavior, which fundamentally warped my personality for a period of time. It made me really, really miserable and unhappy. And it wasn't until I started healing from narcissistic abuse, and then I found out about neurolinguistic programming, which I did first as a kind of healing thing for me. I didn't realize that this programming had happened, but I understood that for some reason I had been just hammered into these boxes by all of these things that had happened and all of these people that had told me all of these different things. And I had to get angry. In the act of healing, I had to get angry in order to start breaking these programs and creating new programs for myself. Beyond the anger, what is it? What do we do in order to break programming? Because here's the thing. Your brain's a computer. You're constantly running programs. Everything's going to feed into your programs. The secret to being really finding whatever your happiness is, because that's the thing. Like they've created this idea of happiness, and we think it's like money and house and security and all this stuff, but it's so much deeper than that. And everyone has a different definition of it. In order for you to get to whatever your point of happiness is, you have to reprogram yourself and start running your own programs instead of all these warped and twisted programs, which are trauma, that are bouncing around, okay, being fed to and off of one another, okay, because someone else's program is not going to work for you. You have to create your own programs, and that starts by figuring out what you truly value, what you truly believe in. But here's some practical steps, okay? Let's get into some practical steps that you can take right now to start shifting your programming. First of all, you have to build higher self-esteem, okay? You need higher self-esteem. Low self-esteem is one of the kind of biggest foundation stones of bad programming, okay? When you have low self-esteem, you have no confident self-knowledge, which means you don't really know what you like or what you want or what you deserve, because you don't think you deserve anything. You think you're like lower than low. You think that you have to be told what to do at all times because you're not strong enough to make decisions for yourself, right? That's big and scary. When you don't have a solid base of self-esteem, you fall into the trap of shame. Anything you get that makes you happy feels undeserved. Success makes you feel unworthy. And you can't build a secure, happy, healthy, fulfilled, whatever future for yourself from the inside out if you don't genuinely know that you deserve it. Okay? You need high self-esteem in order to build better programs, in order to figure out your values, to figure out your beliefs, to create those programs that change your behaviors. Next, you have to shut off sources of unworthiness in your life. Okay. And these are sources which feed back to you. You're unworthy. You're not good enough. You'll never get it. You'll never be happy. You'll never succeed. You shouldn't be doing that. Why are you doing that? You're not good enough to do that. You're never going to have that. You're never going to make that amount of money. You're never going to have that love, meet that person, have that family, do that thing, travel the world, whatever it is. All of the negative sources in your life that keep feeding back that you're unworthy need to be cut. They need to be cut. They need to be distanced as far as they can be from your life. At least until you're emotionally sound enough, your self-esteem is high enough for any of that negative feedback to just bounce off of you. Okay. And this is not healthy critiques, right? This is not someone giving you healthy information like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, like, I noticed this and it made me feel this way. It's not those people, right? These are the people who say, you can't do that. You're never going to do that. You will never be that. You will never feel that. I don't feel that way, so you're not going to feel that way. The toxic people, the narcissists, the just sources of negativity in your life that are negative just for negativity's sake. Okay. These kinds of things, you've got to create distance with them as you create more positive programming. Because let me tell you what, if you're constantly surrounded by negativity, you're going to build negative programs. If you came from a dysfunctional home with toxic, narcissistic parents, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. You come out of the door seeing the world in a horrible light. And your programming, your positive programming is only going to come when you surround yourself with more realistic, real world positivity. Next, you're going to have to really choke down some hard truths here. And you're going to have to have an ego death with the world of sorts in order for you to truly reprogram yourself. You need to understand that everything in the world outside of your family home has been created to program you, to implant you with programs which benefit people who can make money or labor off of you, which is also money. Okay? You need to understand that. 99% of us, 99% of you listening to this podcast right now, okay, are actively being programmed through the media, through the books that you love, through the celebrities, even through some of the activities, through capitalism, through commercialism, through your politics. You are being conditioned to be unhappy, okay, because that is more beneficial. The more unhappy you are, the more likely you are to do political allegiance, right? To adhere, conform to the political cult. The more unhappy you are, the more likely you are to buy and buy and buy and buy and buy. Think about it, okay? If every single person in the working class around the world were to suddenly just magically overnight have all the money, support, okay, and like medical, mental health, emotional support, all of those things, and love that we needed, okay, if we just woke up and magically everyone's trauma was healed and everyone was just this like great person, all systems as we know it right now, every single system in your life would fall apart, and cease to exist, okay? There's big business and a lot of power in creating populations that are miserable, that are drowning, okay? A desperate man will try any door, and a cornered animal will act in ways that's contrary to its nature. You are not programmed to thrive by the powers that be, period. You are not programmed to thrive by the corporations that say, yeah, girl, body positivity, buy this milkshake and lose weight, okay? They are not programming you to be happy, to be healthy, to be secure. You're being kept desperate for answers. You're being kept ashamed of your authenticity. And all of this, the majority of this is done to keep you compliant and to keep you buying anything that you're told to buy as a source of happiness and obedience. But the problem is there's no happiness in that. There is no happiness in being told what to do by other people. There's no happiness in being told who you are by other people. The only way you're going to be happy, I'm doing the bunny ears here, happy, is if you find it in yourself and then create that world physically outside of yourself. That's the only way you're going to do it. Not by being fed a world by someone else and told to sit quietly in it. Next, if you want better programming, surround yourself with better people. People don't like to hear it, but if you're surrounded by a bunch of people who are just miserable, just freaking miserable and doing nothing, they're not talking about anything, they're not aspiring to anything, they're just slugging in the mud, making excuses. Okay? You know the ones that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people who've just been hard hit by life. You know the ones I'm talking about. If you want to do the best in your life, you need to surround yourself with people who are trying to do the best with their lives. And that doesn't mean you need to be surrounded by Fortune 500 CEOs. Laughable. If you want to be like the greatest mom of a certain type that's like doing the home life, then you need to have a support group of moms who are doing that too. You need to surround yourself with what you want to create in your life. That's how you're going to elevate yourself. You're not going to become Mom of the Year, Susie Homemaker, if that is your goal, by surrounding yourself with a bunch of, miserable, nasty people who are just creating drama and hardship on each other every day because they're just miserable and they're making excuses and they're unaware and they're not willing to fix themselves. Okay? You have to surround yourselves with the things you want. If you are surrounding yourself with nothing but struggle, nothing but struggle, nothing but struggle, that's all you're ever going to find around you all the time. Life isn't a game. The quality of people you surround yourself with, it directly impacts the quality of your thoughts and your beliefs about yourself and about the world, which, what is that? Yes, programming. It's programming. And that directly affects the quality and outcome of your life. So if you want to feel better about yourself, surround yourself with people who are feeling good about themselves in a healthy way. It's not rocket science. Good people help us lead better lives. Bad people drag us down. If you really want to get better programming, you got to get comfortable being fearful, okay? Nothing blocks your blessings like fear, they say. When you're living entirely in a state of fear, you're going to react in a state of fear. Your beliefs are going to come from fear. You're going to value things that try to mitigate the fear, so they're based in fear. You've got to stop with the fear. You've got to know that you have what it takes, that you're worthy, that you're deserving, that you're skilled, that you're smart, that you're strong, and that you're going to make it happen whether they like it or not. Okay? Fear will destroy your self-esteem until you're sidelined. So if you were raised in a fearful environment, if you entered the world, the real world, in a state of fear, stop. Break that fear. If you don't break that cycle of fear, the conditioning will stay attached. And that becomes your baseline and the foundation for everything you do in this life. You've got to break through your fear and start taking leaps of faith in yourself, pushing your boundaries slowly but surely in the direction of things that you truly, truly want, need, and value. Last but not least, you have to see the big picture. I'm talking big picture and the big patterns. And I'm talking like human history. Okay, big picture. Because what a lot of us don't realize in the West is that so much of what we do right now, right here in 2022, is still being perpetuated and like built on from like the 1300s. Seriously, the 13 and 14 and 1500s. Okay, and you can look at these patterns throughout Western tradition and cultural histories. Okay, they continue to contribute to who we are, and these old, ill-fitted beliefs that hold us back from being happy. Okay, look for example at the Protestant heritage of America. You can just look at the Protestant heritage of America. Our highly, highly religious ancestors held firm beliefs about work and worthiness. If your life was terrible, it was because you hadn't worked hard enough, so God hadn't rewarded you, right? And they associated a lot of guilt with acting in the name of your desires. Oh, well, look, you just did something for yourself. We're going to shame you. We're going to turn our backs on you. And then you will be cut off from any kind of goodness, any kind of success. And then that proves what we just said, that God is not rewarding you and you're a bad person, which means we'll continue to do it to you. Okay? To the Protestants, even just 100 years ago, your success, your happiness, whatever was going on in your life, if you had a bunch of bad stuff happening to you, it's because you deserved it. You deserved it. Whatever was happening in your life is because of your worth in God's eyes. Your family wasn't working hard enough. You weren't praising God hard enough. That's why bad stuff kept happening to you. And what did we do? We learn to internalize anything bad that happened to us instead of honestly analyzing the world around us, creating real healthy programs. Instead of that, we were just handed these disgustingly abusive gaslighting programs that taught us, well, that's it. If bad stuff's happening to you, 100% all your fault. You're a piece of crap if bad stuff happens to you. And that's simply not the case. Sometimes bad stuff happens to us because we make bad choices. Sometimes bad stuff happens because it just happens. Sometimes bad stuff happens because bad people do it to us. Your programs are what help you to analyze the reality of your situation and then react accordingly, right? Instead of just internalizing it and associating external events with your self-worth, which you cannot do, okay? You didn't lose your job because you're sinful. You lost your job because we're going into a recession. And you will get another job. There will be more jobs. And if not, you listening to this right now, you have the capability. You have the capability to create whatever kind of life you need to create for yourself. For some, that might be harder than others, but you have the power to do it, despite what anyone says to you. You have to look at these big pictures, this big pattern of programming that's been handed down through your family for generations, generations of trauma, generations of toxic beliefs that do not fit 2022, the world we're living in now, your real world values and beliefs, the real things you're experiencing here. So pay attention. If you want to break your programming, you've got to look into the past and break that programming too. What do you think? In so many ways, you and I have been programmed to fail in this life. We were handed beliefs that we weren't good enough, that we can't have what the people on top have. We were taught, many of us, myself included in this, to see our satisfaction with guilt and our joy with suspicion. Well, if we're feeling this good now, something bad's about to happen, right? Because we don't deserve that. Why would we be down here struggling if we deserved that? That reality might be heartbreaking, but it has the power to shift your vision too. Okay? You should not feel bad for getting it right. You have the right to program yourself, to behave the way you want to behave, to feel the way you want to feel. You have an inherent natural right to that. So you shouldn't feel guilt or shame or any other negative emotion for getting it right for yourself. That's bad programming. If you feel bad doing things for yourself, you've got bad programming. You should not feel guilty for forging your own path in a world that's built for you to forge your own path in. You should be living authentically in line with your desires and your truths that make you, you. And that is all based on programming yourself. Stop giving up on the things you truly value. Stop giving in to the darkness and the shadows and the expectations that make no freaking sense, that feel like a bad pair of jeans. You were not put on this planet to suffer. You were not put here to suffer and be farmed. You're put here to thrive. So if you want that to happen, embrace yesterday, embrace tomorrow, embrace yourself, and insist on seeing the world realistically through your own eyes and beliefs. That is it for today's episode. Hopefully that has enlightened you a little bit on programming and a little bit on how you can improve your life by learning how to, work with your beliefs, to work with your values, to see the world in a different way. If you love the episode, why not consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts? If you leave a 5-star review and take a screenshot of it when it goes live, I will send you a free ebook. Yep, totally free ebook. So if you want to take advantage of that, make sure you go and leave a 5-star review and let them know what you liked about the episode or what you like about the show. And that's it. Free. Can't beat that. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for reading on Medium. Thank you for watching me on TikTok. Thank you for applying for coaching. We will have a whole new round of application responses going out very, very soon. So keep an eye on your inboxes. And until next week, keep your heads up. Keep your eyes on the stars. Bye-bye.